And welcome back to the UIA Trusted Partners Podcast. On today's episode, I have Patrick Corbett, Game Master of Industrial Escape Rooms. Pat, how are we doing today?
Doing real good.
Well, I'm glad you can make some time out of the busy schedule. Come on out and talk about I love just the idea of escape rooms anyway, but what is a really fun environment in industrial escape rooms. So I'd love to dive right into it. What was the inspiration for you to kind of start the escape room business, and how long have you been in it?
Well, the brutal truth about how I got into this was I reached that point in my life where I realized that I had pretty much accumulated squat for retirement, and that working for other people really wasn't doing the job on building the bank account. And I thought, let's try doing something different, like, working for myself. And I saw a little article in a magazine talking about escape rooms, and did a little research and thought, I think I can do that. There was a trade show coming up in St. Louis in a couple of months from when I first read this article. And so I signed up and went to that, and went to some seminars and visited lots of different booths and stuff, and got some ideas. And I think most people that open escape rooms are people that have played them someplace else and thought, this is so much fun, we want to open our own. Mm-hmm. I think maybe completely backwards from everybody else in the industry, in that I was pretty solidly in the I am going to open one of these for about 2 or 3 months before I actually ever played an escape game.
Interesting. So you got the doors open before you ever played one?
No.
Okay. Formulating the idea. Okay, gotcha. So what happened after? So I'm kind of curious then. You had the ideas going, and then you played one. What changed from like the initial concept, so to speak?
I'm not sure anything really changed from the initial concept, other than just giving me some more ideas on how to do the puzzles.
Gotcha.
How to design the puzzles.
Gotcha. Different game setups and different designs there as well. That's interesting too, especially not being, like you said, it's probably the norm more so that you're a player of the game first and then you dive into it. But the roles reversed, I think that's genuinely interesting, because it truly is more like a leap of faith at that point.
Yeah. And so I was pushing 60 at that point.
Really?
So, opportunities for people that are starting to get, into their senior years tend to be a little fewer.
It's true.
And taking that leap of faith at 60 is insane, or some other equivalent word. I'm not quite sure.
I bet you it kept the blood going, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, quite a leap of faith, quite a big jump to make. So I love that. And when was the official launch of Industrial Escape Rooms?
So I started working on this like in March or so of 2016.
Oh, wow.
It took me about 2 years to get all of my ducks lined up, to get financing, to find a location. And then once I found the location, then to go in and have I found a bay that had one existing office, and it had an open area. It was formerly a sales showroom.
Oh, gotcha.
So I had to have somebody come in and actually put up walls for the game rooms. And then I went in, and then from priming the walls on out, then I did everything else.
Gotcha, yeah.
So I finally opened for business July 5th of 2018 with one game that would have been Moriarty's Parlor, which is a Sherlock Holmes theme. And that one was actually a kit that I found at one of the trade shows that I went to.
Interesting. So those trade shows, and you can maybe elaborate on this a little bit more for you. So is it pretty common that they sell some of those little kits to kind of put together and take with you to go do your own thing?
You can, and in the escape room business, you can do anything from doing the thing completely all by yourself up to there are companies that for a very, very, very pretty penny, they will come in and you give them a room with 4 blank walls, and they will give you something that is just mind-blowing.
Wow.
Escape rooms games have evolved to the point where can be a lot of very high-tech special effects.
Oh.
And so, if you go out and look on say YouTube, look up escape room games, you can find some really cool stuff up there that I just honestly will probably never be able to afford to do.
No, I get that, because I've seen some of those really futuristic, we'll call them, kind of rooms to where you have to punch in the key panel and you have to find the card to swipe, kind of stuff. A lot goes into those. I imagine there's, like you said, there's probably a very pretty penny that comes with even getting that set up, let alone operating costs, and if anything goes wrong and you got to fix all that stuff. But it's so funny. I take a look online through industrial rooms or industrial escape rooms, and I'm curious because a lot of them are 4 and 5 star kind of on the difficulty ratings. So I am a little curious, is this more for experienced puzzle gamers, or if somebody's a little newer to it, they kind of want to give it a try with some friends, they're not too into it? How's that going?
I would say my games are really more for just the average people walking in. I get, still having been open for 6 years now, I still get quite a few people that come in and I'm their first escape room game. So they've never played any place else before. And the people that are really the experts or
the experienced kind of
experienced
puzzle
players,
expert,
some of those people, they played so many games that they're really looking for that higher end game from companies that have the deeper pockets that can do the better special effects and sort of things. My games are really
more for every day. Like if I could walk in off the street, I could come in and play, which is way more inviting than something what we were just kind of alluding to of, something that's 20 layers deep. It's got all these effects. You got to find the right things. Like you said, that's probably more for a little more niche crowd than...
When escape room games first came out, that was actually the whole deal, was to escape from the room. Mm-hmm. So you had an hour to, generally whatever the theme was, you had to complete whatever that was and escape from the room or you died.
Right. Yeah, that was like the whole premise. Like the room gets flooded or fire, gas,
poison
whatever.
Gas, something. The gangster comes back.
Exactly.
Something. So that's where the escape room game name came from. Was you actually had to escape from the room. Now a lot more of the games, it's not necessarily you have to escape from the room, but there will be a specific goal in mind to complete the game and win the game.
Gotcha.
So only one of mine, Moriarty's Parlor, my Sherlock Holmes thing, that one actually the goal is to escape through a locked door. Then my second room that I opened, and I opened that one the end of December of 2018, is called Blackbeard's Treasure, which is a pirate theme. Mm-hmm. And the goal in that one is the pirates have gone ashore for a little bit, and you've snuck on board, and your goal is to break into his treasure chest to steal his treasure before the pirates return. And so the goal there is to get into the chest, not to get out of the room.
Right.
That one's probably my most fun game. It got lots of stuff. That's my busiest room for just pieces for people to touch.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot going on. If you're a fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean, my rooms are probably not quite as scary as those. Some of the dead people in the Pirates movies, the zombie underwater people, whatever. So, my rooms are. And so I have a lot of younger kids that really enjoy playing that one.
That's good. That is good, though. And so would you recommend, kind of those maybe the first-time players or some, average Joes walking in wanting to play, do you recommend they start off with a Moriarty's Parlor, or do you kind of usher them towards Blackbeard's Treasure since there's a little more to interact with?
I kind of recommend that they start with the easier game.
Interesting.
And sometimes they'll go online and they'll look at the game description, and some people are just really into Sherlock Holmes. They've watched all the TV series, all the movies, maybe even read quite a few of the books. And so they're just all about Sherlock Holmes. So, it doesn't matter what the difficulty level is. Right. They just want to go play that theme.
That's fair.
So
that's definitely fair. Do you have a lot more of that than you maybe originally expected, rather than, hey, I'm here for the puzzle of the game, rather than, I love Sherlock Holmes. I'm here to play the Sherlock Holmes room.
Yeah, I do get that quite a bit. Yeah, some people are really big Sherlock Holmes fans. Right. Some people are are they love anything to do with pirates.
Exactly.
And so they'll pick that one.
Interesting. I love that. And I love that people can come in there. It's open, it's inviting, and people can kind of just talk with you and everybody there about, hey, what kind of puzzle fits them the best, which is great. Now, expert puzzlers, we kind of talked about it a little bit. Your rooms don't quite go to like what they're probably after, the high end, like 30 room challenge of now you've got to get out kind of thing. But you do have some challenging puzzles in there. And I'm curious, what is your most challenging room to you? Is that Sea Voyage, room 745, Moriarty's Parlor, or the Blackbeard's Trail?
I would say Moriarty's Parlor is the most challenging.
Really? Okay.
And that one's got, well, all of my rooms, I pretty much designed them for if I have a full team playing, that there's enough for everyone to find something to do right off the bat.
Perfect.
So there's a lot to do. So I think that if two people are working on something and everybody else in your group is standing around looking over your shoulder and twiddling their thumbs, I just don't think that's a good game.
Yeah, that's not very fun. Or at least I wouldn't think so either.
So if you're just watching other people do things and you're not being able to do anything, I just don't think that's any fun. So now that does, on the flip side of that does make that a bit more challenging for the smaller teams. So I do, my minimum to play is 2 players. Okay. And occasionally I do have 2-person teams that are successful in a game. But those are people that have played several games and they've got a good idea of how to search the room and then what to do with the things when you find them.
Right.
So they've got a little more experience under their belt. So generally 2-person teams, that's their first game walking in. Doesn't matter which of my 3 games or my full games they play, they're probably not going to make it out. But then again, industry-wide, generally the industry standard is most people don't succeed because
it's supposed to be a challenge.
It's supposed to, and if it was easy, it wouldn't be any fun.
Right. Yeah. So no, I'm one of those people. I enjoy challenges. I enjoy things like that of, hey, beat the clock, can you kind of stuff. And so I do think that is kind of interesting that your teams of 2 more often than not fail, which is not surprising to me, but you would think, you get a couple of smart guys together. Oh, we're going to walk in and breeze right through this and, come out a little more humble out on the other side. Do you get a lot of people that come back as pairs like that? They're like, hey, we got beat that. We're coming back for this room.
Well, generally once somebody plays a specific room, they don't come back and play that one again.
Gotcha.
But they will come back and play one of the other rooms. So I do have people that really, really enjoyed the first room and they go, we're definitely coming back to play another one.
I love that. And obviously that's the whole goal, right? Keep going until you play them all and then you play them again. Now, I am kind of curious here. What should players have prepared when they come to play? If I walk in the street today and I say, hey, I got a couple friends of mine, we're looking to play. What do I need?
Really just put on your A-game thinking cap. That's really all you need.
And that's perfect because it's straightforward. I don't have to bring anything or anybody else with me, and besides obviously the team. But I am kind of more curious about this side of the question because you might run into this more often than maybe some people think. What do you tell players not to do after a game has begun?
I don't know that I have anything that I tell them not to do after. I generally will do a pregame briefing where I go over what I call the house rules, where I tell them, look underneath things, inside of things, the big pieces of furniture you don't have to move, don't climb on the furniture.
Right. Don't be putting holes in the walls.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
If there's a piece of blank wall, there's nothing behind it.
Right.
You don't have to climb on everything to go search above the ceiling tiles.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much I give them the rules before they get into the room. So,
which is great. Do you ever run into anybody who's just maybe a little too rambunctious about it? They kind of disregard the rules a little bit, or most of your players pretty well aligned?
Most people are really well behaved.
Good.
On the odd occasion, I do have. And some of the places in town, they have age restrictions.
Right.
They generally, it's like if you have children younger than 16, they require an adult in the room.
Right.
I will generally let down to 11-year-olds play without an adult in the room. And yeah, I might be missing out on an opportunity to force another ticket sale by making a parent be in there.
Sure.
But it's not that big a deal. But, sometimes the younger kids really want to try it on their own. And I think 11 is about that age where their brain is started to get to the point where they can actually be successful at processing how the puzzles work. I think younger than that, probably they really need to have an adult in the room. And I don't have a younger, even at that 11, I let smaller kids come in. I've had quite a few, like 6-year-olds. They'll play with their families and they'll spend like the first half of the game going, Mommy, I found something. Mommy, I found something. Mommy, I found something. So they're having a good time. They're participating. The family all gets to participate together. That's kind of one of the things that maybe sets me apart from some of the other places in town.
Love that.
Is that, you don't have to get a sitter for the 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. And I've even had people bring in, infants in strollers or the little car seat things carries, and they just set the kids, park the kids in a corner and if they're in a stroller, or just set the baby on the floor or in someplace. And I don't care, I don't charge for the younger kids, obviously, because
they're not actively figuring the puzzle out. Yeah. No, I think that is a really great point to point out and kind of allude to, that you're right. There's a lot of other companies out there that, it depends. It doesn't matter if it's an escape room, doesn't matter if it's a restaurant. If there's a kid under a certain age, most of the time they're going to make the adult get something. Mm-hmm. So now I like that you're more welcoming, more accommodating to that. And like you said, it avoids parents having to get a babysitter for game night. They can do a whole family night and still have it be fun, which I love. Now, a whole section of your website has frequently asked questions on there. Listeners at home, I'm telling right now, should just go read those, pull them up, read the whole thing if you're coming on out to play. But I am curious if there's 1 or 2 questions that come up more frequently than others for you.
I get more, are the rooms private? And they still are, yeah.
Okay.
So some people are still asking about that. Pre-COVID, it was kind of an open thing, whether games were private or not. Some places you were just out there. Some places you could, if you wanted to have a private game, then you had to buy up all of the seats, if you will, to guarantee.
Right.
And then some places, if you had like 2 players wanted to play out of a 6-person game, you could buy the 2 full tickets, and then they made you pay some sort of extra premium to reserve the room. And I think I was doing that for a while right before COVID.
Gotcha.
I think I was charging like a flat $20 extra fee if you wanted a private game.
Right.
And then when COVID came in, then everything went differently. And so
that's a really kind way to say it. Everything flipped on its head.
Yeah, so virtually every place went to private games. And I think we've all kind of stayed in that mode.
Gotcha.
So it's very rare, I think, that anybody actually has open games anymore where 2 people can book, and then 2 other people can, from a completely different group, can book and play with that. So you're actually playing with people that you don't know.
Yeah, which I can see the appeal for some of that. Might make a new friend or so along the way. But I'm sure it's probably kind of all still kind of leaned toward the private side and people having those little private bookings, so to speak. So that is good information for people to know. Especially, again, go onto the website and look at all of the frequently asked questions, so you can have yourself a little education before you go into the industrial escape rooms. Now, what's the toughest challenge that you yourself are faced with in today's market? And I'm kind of curious how you're navigating that for your players as well.
Well, probably like any business owner, the toughest challenge is just bringing in new customers.
Right.
And this is a very odd business model in that generally once somebody plays a specific game, they do not come back and play it again.
Right.
So in all practicality, I have 3 opportunities. I've got 3 full-scale rooms, and you mentioned I have room 745 and the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes.
Those are actually designed as portable games to be taken off-site. So my full 3 rooms, I've got really 3 chances to take your money, and then I'm probably not ever going to see you again until at some point in the who knows when future if I decide to change out a room and put in a brand new game.
No, I definitely understand what you're getting at. That's a very interesting model, like you had said, because it's got to be tough to kind of keep navigating that for people.
Yeah, so bringing people in, if I had like a fast food place or even a restaurant, I could sell you a meal 1 to 3 times a week, if you really liked my food.
Right.
I could, if I had a retail store, you could come in and buy, whatever you wanted, new book, a new lamp or whatever, every so often. But again, I've got 3 opportunities to do that. So the other guys in town that do escape rooms, and there's about 11 of us, most of us are actually friends with each other,
which is good.
And we actually try and get together on a semi-regular basis and have just a little get-together, social. Sometimes a potluck. Sometimes somebody will just go out and order a pizza, and we meet at somebody's location, and we just spend the evening just sitting around and talking.
Talk shop a little bit.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, I love that, and I'm really happy that you said that all of you kind of are hand in hand. You're friends with each other. It's not, hey, stand off. No, you're you, I'm me. We draw the lines, which. In today's world, it feels like a lot of business has kind of gone back to that mentality, so to speak. So it's nice to hear that it's a lot more cordial than you'd think. We're friends with each other. We talk shop, we bounce ideas, things like that. So I am kind of curious, you did say initially in our conversation that when you set up one of these rooms, there's obviously a price to it. There's obviously a price to anything that we do. Is it reasonable, because you kind of see some of these rooms try to be gimmicky and, we switch our rooms every week or every month or however they rotate their rooms. Is that really feasible in your eyes, or is that more of just it's getting your attention until they can figure it out?
I'm running the place pretty much all by myself. So
right.
I'm doing the entire thing. So from running the business to designing the rooms to acquiring the props, the puzzle, designing the puzzles, making the puzzles fit together, making the puzzles sequence the right way. I'm doing the whole thing all by myself.
Right.
So yeah, that's a challenge for me. I've had people ask me, so how long does it take you to put a room together from start to scratch?
Absolutely.
And my usual answer has been pretty much about a year. From when I start thinking of, I want to do this room, and I'm going back to when I was very first starting to do this. So again, Moriarty's Parlor was a kit, and I actually bought that one because I wanted to see how someone who had been in business for a while and been successful, how they designed their games, how the puzzles flowed together with each other, how they documented things on the back end of it. Then hopefully I took a lot of what I learned from that, and then finished designing Blackbeard's Treasure and Sea Voyage, because I had actually started working on both of those kind of at roughly about the same time, kind of a general concept for each room, and then just a little bit here and a little bit there, designing the puzzles, finding the props or building the props as I needed to. Sometimes I joke that I like to think I'm semi-dangerous with power tools. So I built a few things. In
Nice.
Blackbeard's Treasure, there's an old style cannon that I built from scratch.
Very cool.
Yeah, it doesn't go boom or anything, but it's still really cool.
But it still looks awesome.
Yeah,
guys.
it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I forgot where I was going.
No, that's okay. That concept of literally going from
you were
start
talking
of
about
room to finish of
pricing,
room. Yeah, and then the realism of changing those all the time. Obviously, for a one-man show like yourself, that's not super easy to do.
It's not.
It takes a lot of time.
And well, it also, you have to have a place to expand into, or pull a room out of commission for a while, or you have to have a place where you can start putting that new room together,
right?
Because you can't just do it completely in your head. You still need to kind of lay stuff out and actually play the game, and that's kind of how it does when I put a room together. Is start off with a big floor outline of the game and lots of Post-it notes with, this is this puzzle, and I'm going to stick this on the left wall, and this is this puzzle, and I'm going to stick this on the right wall. So a lot of Post-it note going on.
Right.
And then from that point, then you kind of get things kind of graphed out where you think things are going to go, and then you obviously still have the actual puzzle elements for the players to touch and play with. So then you get to that point where you start trying to put the room together. So you have to have a place to set that up so that you can actually go in. And I did a lot of that while I was doing this. Is just me. I would go in and this is puzzle A. This leads to puzzle B. Leads to puzzle C. And so I'm working these out in my head, and also I'm working them out physically as I'm setting this up. Going, oops, I've got A, B, D, then C. So that doesn't work. So now I've got to figure out how to readjust things so that the puzzles flow correctly, so that you can actually solve things in the right order in order to reach that ultimate end goal.
Absolutely. So it's funny hearing you describe this process and hearing how you're going about this. I draw some similarities to D&D. And well, for those of you who don't know, Dungeons and Dragons. If you're the DM, you're the person who has to create everything. So you have to make everything, including the encounters, the rooms, the puzzles, the traps, and you have to play them essentially to see if they work. There's so many parallels there. I thought it was kind of funny I'd bring up that I run into similar issues for my group that I DM for.
I've never played Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, so I always tell people it's a tabletop theater game. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's allowing people to kind of just be goofy and be silly and be fun while still just, it's still a game. You're going toward the goal. There's objectives and all that.
And I have described escape room games as kind of like a live action board game.
That's exactly, you know what, they're probably hand in hand with each other. You could theme them very well with each other as well. But no, I drew a lot of similarities there and a lot of parallels to just the thinking, the thought process, the intricacies, and really the time. It's honestly a lot of time that gets put to use. I don't want to say wasted, even though when you put something together and then that one little thing in the middle is wrong and you got to redo everything, I still don't call it a waste of time, even though it's frustrating. But no.
Yeah, frustrating, yes, but not a waste of time.
Exactly.
You know, who did Thomas Edison, when he was trying to invent the light bulb, said, yeah, I now know 10,000 things that do not work.
Yeah, I know 10,000 ways to not make a light bulb now. Absolutely. And so I really appreciate the thought and the care that really goes into these rooms, because obviously, like you said, you could hire somebody in, they can come slap 4 rooms together real quick at a cost of a pretty penny, and there you go. You've got your cookie cutter rooms. But something that's coming thoughtful, practiced, played, tested, it's home, it's local. There's just something that speaks to me about that. And I hope that our audience draws that similar connection as well. I am curious, now that you've been open since about 2018, you said?
2018, so just over 6 years now.
Just over 6 years. I am curious, what's the most rewarding aspect that you get out of this?
I think the most rewarding aspect is just watching people interact with each other and having a good time.
I like that.
It's just listen to them playing, the laughing, the laughter, the camaraderie that goes along. You can hear occasionally they'll have been looking at a particular puzzle for 5, maybe 10 minutes or so, just looking at a particular lock. In Blackbeard's Treasure and in Sea Voyage, by each lock there's a little picture I put to help give you an idea of what you need to find to work that lock. And sometimes people will be looking at the lock, and they'll be looking at the other things in the room, and then they'll finally go, aha! And they'll take this item and they'll go, okay, this is going to give me the combination to this lock. And so those aha moments are really fun to listen to.
I bet that's got to be quite a day maker, really, when you hear that especially like in the morning. If you have somebody going in, they get started right away, hear it ding off, and you hear that, oh yeah, I got it. Yeah, that's got to light you up a little bit on the inside.
And when they'll be entering combinations, they'll enter, and then finally they get the right combination. They pull it open, they go, got it.
I love it. So I know that I'm already thinking about our my Dungeons and Dragons groups. We usually try to do something around the Christmas holiday times. I'm already thinking of what we're going to be doing this year, and it's going to be one of these escape rooms for sure. Whether it's Moriarty's Parlor or Blackbeard's Treasure, I'll leave that up to them. I always let them vote on it. But I know that we're going to come out and do this because we love puzzles. We are a fun group to listen to at the very least. But before we get going into the personal kind of side of this interview, because I like to end things off with the personal, and I'll get to know the people across from me. Is there anything else you'd like the listeners to know at home about industrial escape rooms? Anything coming up? Floor is yours.
Well, I do want to say that way back in the very beginning of escape rooms, you were actually locked in a room.
Right.
You actually were locked in a room. Yeah. And so over the course of time, the fire departments have started to get a little picky about that. So they didn't even, so all of my game doors I'm not even allowed to have a lock on those doors. Because you're not allowed to pretend under any shape, form, or fashion that the actual door that would be used in the event of an emergency or a fire is blocked. You can't even pretend that door is locked.
Interesting.
So they've kind of gotten away from that. So you're in more of a pretend mode. But a lot of companies still believe in what they call the immersion factor, where you go into the room and they want you to be completely immersed in the game. And so they kind of feel that if a player leaves the game for whatever reason, you've, quote, broken the immersion.
Right.
And if somebody says, I've got to go to the bathroom, they will let them out, but then they won't let them back in.
Which makes some sense, I suppose.
But I kind of look at it from the aspect of, I got your money. You might as well get the enjoyment you got out of it. And so I'm real easy about if you need to step out of the room, you need to go to the bathroom. I would much rather you went in the bathroom than you went in my game room.
Yeah, absolutely.
I tell people sometimes, people that have small children and pets understand the concept of there are some things that are just so difficult to get out of the carpet.
Yep.
And then I've had several people that tell me they'll come in with a group, and several of the group members have gone down to go hit the bathroom, and they'll go, I really don't want to be here. I'm claustrophobic, and I don't want to have anything to do with this. Talk me into this. And I go, okay, well, first off, my rooms have these beautiful 10-foot tall ceilings. I've got regular commercial lighting. Mm-hmm. The only time that the lights go off is if the players turn the lights off to see if something glows in the dark. Generally, nothing does. And if at some point during the game you feel like you're starting to get a little closed in, you're welcome to step out of the game. And then if at some point later on you feel you want to try and rejoin the game, you're welcome to rejoin the game. I've pretty much been able to talk them off the ledge.
Yeah.
And so then they go in and they generally have a good time. So I try as much as possible to make playing at my location an easy and enjoyable experience. Probably fewer rules than a lot of other places do about, quote, the immersion factor. Sure. Let people come in and out of the game, letting them bring children. So that's just that's the way I operate.
Yeah, and if you ask me, I like it because it's open. It's honest. It's inviting. It's not going to be, hey, well, you stepped out of the room. You can wait in the lobby. Because some of that, like you said, there are certain things in people's lives they can't control. A kid has to use the bathroom. Mm-hmm. Baby might need changed. There are things that are going to have to break the immersion sometimes, which I get. Immersion is a very big part of the game, but it's not the game. So I love that you're open with it and that you are flexible with it.
And I haven't really had anybody afterwards complain about the immersion factor being broken.
So I couldn't imagine that somebody would really come up to you, look you square in the face, and I'm saying no eye contact break, and go, I didn't enjoy myself because one of my teammates left the room, and it just ruined the whole thing for me. Yeah. If somebody can look you square in the face and be serious about that, I would love to meet them because, wow.
People I'm going, whatever.
Yeah, wow. So hopefully none of those ever cross your path, but if you do, man, get a video because I'd love to see it. Now, of course, we are talking to Patrick Corbett, Game Master of Industrial Escape Rooms. Of course, it's been such a great pleasure to have you on the show today. We're going to end things up with the personal side of the show. You a big football fan or sports fan at all?
Not really.
Not really? Okay.
Not really.
So what's something in the fall that you look forward to?
In the fall?
Yeah, because, we're already to the tail end of summer. Unfortunately, summer's my favorite holiday and time of year. Mm-hmm. So I love the summertime, and I always look forward to it. But a lot of people I find in Nebraska look forward to the fall. So I'm just curious.
One of those downsides to being a single employee business owner is you just don't get a lot of downtime.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can definitely understand that.
Again, I'm friends with most of the other escape room owners and general managers, and so I look forward to our little socials that we get. A lot of times we go when we meet at somebody's location. If there's one of the games that we haven't played yet, we get the guy that's hosting the location will set us up in one of the rooms, and we get to play that. That's always fun.
Yeah. That's really cool that you guys are able to kind of network with each other and do that and kind of keep each other fresh and engaged on that. I think that's really important.
We bounce ideas off each other, and somebody will go, I'm trying to think of a puzzle to do such and such, and we'll go, oh, have you thought about doing this kind of a thing? And so we toss out ideas, and kind of help each other build the business
Right.
and make, if we all help each other rise up, then the games get better for everybody. And that's good for us, and that's good for our customers, for our players.
Absolutely. And I think, especially in the field that you're in, it's a creative field, and having that outlet with other creative minds to kind of help keep that process flowing can be very beneficial. Because, I mean, people talk about all the time, writer's block is the notorious word for it, but creative block is really what it can be. Because, man, sometimes you can have the best idea for a game, but then you cannot think of anything to really work with it. But the idea is great. So you start to bounce that off the other people that are in that. So I love that concept. Love that you guys routinely do that. I think that's really important to kind of do. So this year, or I guess since I've started this show, I've gotten a plethora of answers because everything's seemingly changing throughout the year. But I ask my guests, what's your Mount Rushmore of Omaha? Whether it's food, whether it's places to be, whether it's all the above, what do you think is our Mount Rushmore here in Omaha?
The zoo is great.
Love the zoo.
I've been to the zoo several times. It's getting to where I don't know that I like to walk all that much. There's a lot of distance to there. It's big. It's huge.
It's big. I don't remember it being that big, but boy.
Well, I think they have expanded it since, I know they have since they first opened it way back in whenever, but it's really big. In a previous life, I had more free time on weekends, and I used to like to go to the symphony.
Oh, yeah.
And so we have a fantastic symphony here in town.
Yes, we do.
And so my Mount Rushmore would be, to occasionally find some time to go hit a symphony performance on like a Friday or Saturday night. That would be fun.
I love that. Yeah, definitely hit up the symphony. If you've never experienced the Omaha Symphony Group, they're fantastic. I forget their actual official name.
I think it's just the Omaha Symphony, I believe.
Is it just Omaha Symphony?
So.
Okay. I was like, I felt like it was simple enough, but that's usually when I say that, and then it's got this extravagant name and I botch.
Yeah.
So, Patrick Corbett, Game Master of Industrial Escape Rooms, thank you so much for being on the show today. I had a blast. I love learning about new industries, especially ones that have nothing to do with mine. And so it's always really nice to hear, how we got started, what you stand for, and the why and the how behind what you do. So, Pat, thank you for making some time. Anything for the listeners at home before we go? And what's the best way to reach out to you about playing at Industrial Escape Rooms?
I don't know if I've got anything else that I can throw out to the listeners, but the best way to contact me is probably either through email at info@industrialescaperooms.com. If you go to the website, there's a contact us little box where you can fill in some information. And always available on the phone, 402-598-1892.
Are you guys on social media as well?
I am on social media, kind of roughly, loosely, but I don't.
There's a presence there.
There is kind of a presence, but I don't do, again, I'm
focusing on the rooms and the business.
Focusing on the rooms. I'm more of a senior now, so I don't do social media quite like the younger generations are doing it. So
no, and that's A-okay. It's just another avenue. If somebody wants to learn what's going on over there, they might be able to reach out to you that way as well. Again, Pat Corbett, thank you so much for taking some time to sit down with us.
Thanks, Dylan. Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed this.
I appreciate that. And of course, you listeners at home, I appreciate you as well. And we'll have more for you next time here on the UIA Trusted Partners Podcast.